In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter and better tomorrow. Welcome to the Development Report on People's 105.5 FM, where we talk about pressing issues surrounding sustainable development. I'm all about everything development, from women's empowerment to children's rights, climate change, water resources, energy, food waste, waste management, and more. And together, we'll be coming close to our common good as a nation. Today, as we look into the topic before us, decent work through social responsibility. I am Ife Onyekachi. And joining us in the studio today is an HSE and CSR Manager. We have Engineer Onyekachi Darlington Hezekiah here with us today. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So we all know that decent work is an essential tool, is an essential topic to actually foster economic growth and sustainable development. And today, our guest is here to join us to explore how social responsibility can actually enhance job quality and ensure safe working conditions. And you can also join us in the conversation today. You can also lend your voice in the conversation on our social media platforms at People's 105.5 FM. And you can also send in your messages on WhatsApp via 0911-112-1055. The WhatsApp number again is 0911-112-1055, and you can actually call in on 0911-222-1055. The topic for discussion today is decent work through social responsibility. Shortly, we'll be taking our development news stories.
We inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the People's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
Now for the headlines. Stakeholders call for modernization of Nigeria's environmental laws. Lagos issues 2 weeks ultimatum to clean up Lagos Island. Stakeholders commit to strengthening climate standard in IFAD projects. At the National Dialogue in Abuja, environmental experts and policymakers have called for urgent amendments to Nigeria's Environmental Impact Assessment (EIA) Act to address issues like biodiversity loss and climate change. Hosted by Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation in partnership with other organizations, the event highlighted flaws in the 2004 Act, including outdated provisions and weak enforcement. Executive Director of Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation, Dr. David Michael Terugwa, emphasized aligning the Act with the global best practices to ensure sustainable development and protect future generations. The Lagos State government has given residents of Lagos Island a 2-week deadline to address environmental issues, including blocked drainage systems, indiscriminate waste disposal, and illegal constructions. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration, through agencies like Lagos State Building Control Agency and the Ministry of Environment, has warned of strict enforcement against offenders to restore order and mitigate flooding risk. The officials have encouraged residents to clear their drains, stop waste dumping, and cooperate with ongoing infrastructure projects to improve the environment. Stakeholders at the workshop of the Social, Environmental and Climate Assessment Procedures (SECAP) held in Port Harcourt have pledged to enhance social, environmental and climate change procedure support by the International Fund for Agricultural Development (IFAD). Consultant of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, Dr. Priscilla Achakpa, emphasized the need for collective action to address climate impacts on agriculture, highlighting recent challenges like flooding. The workshop focused on building capacity to implement SECAP's standard, ensuring agricultural projects promote sustainability and resilience. And that's it on the development news segment. Keep it right locked here for more engaging sections. We'll go on a music break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Remember, we have a guest in the studio, Engineer Onyekachi Darlington Hezekiah, who is a CSR manager, and he's going to be discussing the topic Decent Work Through Social Responsibility, SDG 8, here with us.
People's 105.5 FM.
Jehovah Jireh, my provider, Chimamanda. Jehovah Nisi, my healer, Chimamanda. Ocean divider, my redeemer, Chimamanda. Everybody came, my comforter, Chimamanda. Onye nwelu chukwu nwelu nchekwube Chigamanda. Chimamanda. Chimamanda nata, nega wachi anyamanda. Chimamanda. Mr. Flavor is Africa, Chigamanda. Oh, Manda. Mama mo formula Chigamanda nata. Oh, Manda. Papa mo nyemechi Chigamanda. Oh, Madam Baka adoration Chigamanda. TV Joshua in the synagogue Chunamanda. Oh, Manda. The clergy kneeling in a roll Chunamanda. Chimamanda. Chimamanda, daga wachi anyamanda. Chimamanda. Wemeko for Chigamanda. Esalune nwego Chrissy Oba Chigamanda. No kita Chigamanda nata. Omema inemema Chigamanda. Papa Lotija Ezioyimo Chigamanda. Frank Maremeo South Africa Chigamanda. United Ontio Mama Onafio Mame Pere Osibo Chigamanda. Faita Denuga Global Com Chigamanda. Ebele Chuku Obiano Chigamanda. Opulo Kalicia Ezioyimo Chigamanda. Shoko Kompo Manumo Chigamanda. Chimamanda.
We entertain. We are the people's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
All right, it's still the development report on People's 105.5 FM, and we're discussing decent work through social responsibility. We have in the studio an a CSR manager here with us, Engineer Onyekachi Darlington Hezekiah, and he's going to be giving us insights from experience and from knowledge about what we need to put right, what we need to do, what decent work entails, because first of all, people, I feel like people have different definition of what they call decent work. So let's even start from there. What does decent work entail in the concept, in the context of the SDG, and why is it crucial for sustainable development? Because some people might not even understand what this decent work is about. You might have your own ideology, probably coming from an experience of something that is not decent enough, but then you call it, oh, this is how the work environment should actually look like. This is how the flow should actually look like. But looking at SDG 8, how do you what exactly do you call a decent work?
Okay, so decent work was actually coined by International Labour Organization.
Amazing,
in a
yeah.
report in sometime 1999. And it talks about work that is productive.
Amazing. Okay.
That the employee earns a fair income, like security in the workplace, and also the employees know their rights and their rights are upheld. So it's actually crucial for sustainability because decent work reduces poverty, and also it promotes inclusive economic growth. Okay, and also we can also see that it promotes or fosters equality. These are pillars of sustainability.
Amazing. Okay, so in a situation where we have an entrepreneur who is trying to start a business, and probably the person has not gotten to the point where everything is in place already. How do you define that? Would you still categorize that? Because starting a business as an entrepreneur might not be easy in the first few years of that business environment. Would we still classify that as a decent work, giving them some exceptions? Because I don't want us to only look at the official office space. Right now, probably because of the economy and all like that, you have lots of people trying to set up something or start up something and all like that, and we don't want to leave them out in this discussion, right? And so for those people in that sect, what do we call decent work for people in those category?
Okay, so I think it is important for us to understand the things that make up decent work.
Okay, great.
So the first thing is that there should be a fair income that can take you home, like we say.
That can take you home.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Not minimum. I wouldn't want to say minimum
wage. I get that.
Wage that can take you home, right? So, and apart from that, there should be a job security, and the work environment must be safe for the person to do his work, and ultimately, the workers should have a voice. Those are crucial things that involves decent work. And so if an entrepreneur is just starting his business, right, I understand that there could be constraint, but the question is, the people that he's employing, are they earning a decent, a fair wage that can take them home?
Amazing. All right, so if you're just joining us, we're actually discussing decent work through social responsibility, and our guest in the studio, who is a CSR manager, just gave us he explained what a decent work looks like. At least you should have something to take you home, right? So looking at the Nigerian economy, or if you're listening out of Nigeria, I want you to send in your contributions. What are the possibilities of actually having a decent work, especially for those of us in Nigeria, because we have lots of people saying a lot of things about, the economy is harsh, prices of things are going up and all like that. How do we come to this point where we can still ensure we have decent work and manage the pressure of the pricing of commodities and foodstuff and everything in the marketplace, right? And I want you to look into the part of corporate responsibility. Now, how can businesses incorporate social responsibility into their operations to promote decent work for employees and communities. But, before we actually go here, you mentioned something on the workers having a voice. Very important. So, how do we, where do we cut the line between having a voice and overstepping boundaries, right? Because to have a very, if you apologies to the Gen Zs, but if you ask a Gen Z, right, okay, I want to give you a job, or you have a job, one of the first things they're looking out for is the mental health of that environment. How are the mental health of the people who already are working in this place right now? People who would actually I don't want to say people like us, let's not look like as if we're very old, but right, but there are some things we can actually handle, you understand? So how do we bridge the gap between having a voice and not overstepping your boundaries? We're actually building this basis, so when we get to the point where we're not talking about the main thing, we can know how to come to a common ground together.
Okay, so when I said having a voice,
great,
I'm referring to the worker being able to express his concern, understanding what is his rights and his privileges. Okay, I want to give you an example. Okay, there are a lot of companies that exposes their workers to unsafe conditions, and in the course of doing that job, they are injured. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And it's crucial for an employee to know that it is their right, that they have all that it takes to do the job, including the training, the personal protective equipment that is required for that job.
Yes.
And understanding the hazards that is associated with that job. Now, in a situation where the employer says, please go ahead and do this job, the employee has a right to say no. But the question is, how will he express that?
That's it. The how.
Yeah, so that is where the government comes in. Okay, we have laws. Even though it's not sufficient enough, especially in terms of occupational health and safety. But we have labor laws. We have Factory Act that specifies some sections that relates to that. So the employee can actually report. Okay, so we have a situation where some people get injured and they are left. They are left in the hospital. The employee doesn't care about, taking care of the employer. The employer doesn't care taking care of the employee. Yeah. And in such a situation, what happens? And most times, the workers do not even know that they have a right to ask their employers, do they have insurance? So it will shock you to know that some of the employers don't even subscribe to NSITF. So, which
is a body supposed to handle.
So you discover that the workers are exposed. They don't know their rights. They don't have the required knowledge. They don't have the required PPE to do that job. So, and that's what's going on. And that's what's going on, and it's unfortunate. So, in that case, the worker has a right to speak up, has a right to report to the relevant authorities. If in an event that the worker is injured, he has a right to report. Because the employer is supposed to take care of the employees.
Great. So SDG 8, of which is our focus today, is actually decent work and economic growth. And that's what we're discussing. That's the bane of the discussion for today, right? You can send in your contributions for the topic of which we're discussing on WhatsApp. The number to actually send in your messages to is 0911 112 1055, and we're opening the phone lines. You can start calling in on 0911 222 1055. I call it again, 0911 222 1055. All right, I'm talking about social responsibilities. As a CSR Manager. Could you just tell us how, businesses can actually incorporate social responsibilities to their operation to actually promote decent work for employers and even communities at large?
Okay, so I want to first of all try to correct a misconception.
Okay. All right.
That, sometimes when you mention CSR, they are looking at philanthropy. Oh,
can we even? I'm sorry. I think we should have just called the full name. Yeah. So
okay.
People who, social responsibility. Yes.
So most times, what people think or know is when companies buy bags of rice and distribute philanthropy. So it's actually beyond that. It encompasses environmental responsibility. It also encompasses ethical responsibility. How do they conduct their business? So in this case, businesses can actually adopt fair labor practices, ensuring that their workers at least go home with something that can take them
tangible,
home, right? And also ensure that their working condition is safe, right? When I mean safe, I mean from free from every hazard or harm. Sometimes.
So what you're trying to say is, organizations ensuring that their workers are actually very well, fine, and all like that is part of corporate social responsibility.
Sure.
Amazing.
Yes.
And this can actually be accounted for.
Yes.
Amazing. It's not just about doing for outside, the communities and all like that. That's one of it. But then, because there was something you said, you want to correct a misconception, because this is an enlightenment, right? Doing also for those within is actually counted as corporate social responsibility as well.
Yes.
Amazing.
So in social corporate responsibility, we have environmental responsibility, making sure that what you are doing, how is it impacting on the environment?
Yeah.
You have ethical responsibility. How are you conducting your business in an ethical way, right? What is the condition of your employees, right? Then we also have a social aspect, in the sense that every business is situated in a community. So how are you interacting with the community? Is there an engagement that is going on? Right. Do you assess? The last part is philanthropy. That is where everybody knows.
Exactly.
Charity, giving something to the to the environment.
Yeah.
So for businesses can actually adopt fair labor practices, right, which is part of CSR.
Amazing.
And apart from that, they can also provide training and development opportunities. And this is one area that a lot of businesses don't do, right? They don't understand that they need to train their workers. There's this conception that if I train you, you will leave me tomorrow. Right.
And so how do we even manage that? Because the people who actually have organized, because what we're looking at is, at the end of it all, we have economic growth, right? And so these people who, most of which are private owners, right? They also want to make profits. They also want to benefit from the business they're actually creating and the jobs they're actually giving out. So how do they, because this is one of their fears. So I think we need to address this. Because if I'm training you and then you leave me after 3 months, how do I manage that?
Okay, first of all, there's this struggle that how to balance profit making and fair labor practices, right? There is this idea that was propagated a long time ago that businesses are actually established to make profits. But in the recent times, in the wave of sustainability, we have discovered that it's not actually so, right? When businesses take care of their employees, take care of their environment, take care of their communities, they make more profits, right? So coming to your question, how do we do that? So there are a lot of factors that make workers to leave, right? Giving them training, when they see that they have a value, they'll give back to you, right?
Is that a given?
Okay, so one of the reasons why some people leave, because I had this discussion with some colleagues, discovered that if the working condition is not safe, it's not conducive. If you like, send them to Harvard, they will leave. Right? So training them, they will give back to you, they will be more productive, right? But it's not enough. You have to make the condition to be conducive, right? To be safe for them. And that's part of the CSR we're talking about. So apart from that, businesses can also enforce ethical supply chain practices to prevent exploitative labor, right? And I'm happy that some businesses in Nigeria are already doing that, right? Because you discover that some of your suppliers uses forced labor, child labor, right? In order to get
exactly.
Yes. And when we talk about ethical responsibility, it encompasses even the business ensuring that their supply chain, okay, they are following the ethical processes, right? So, and apart from that, also to implement diversity, equality, and inclusion policies, and that is very key, right? Because businesses must make provisions for disability.
Yeah.
Must make provision. We know that there's a law on that, but I would say we are going there. But businesses should implement diversity, equality, inclusion policies to ensure equal opportunities.
Amazing. All right, so if you're listening and you work in an environment, how decent is it, and how decent is work situations around your location? And tell us what you feel can actually be done better to ensure that we all have a decent work that would enhance social responsibility and also sustainable development in our environment. We have a guest in the studio who is a CSR manager, and he's the voice you've been hearing. And he's been telling us from his years of experience and expertise what can be done better. Now, looking at the growing population of young people in the country, especially Nigeria here, how can social responsibility initiative, address youth unemployment and, promote entrepreneurship? A situation where we also have young people who want to set up, who want to learn and then set up something for themselves, and probably also engage other people to ensure we have economic growth in the country.
Okay, so I will take it in two parts.
All right.
There's a business part. There's also a government part.
Amazing. All right.
So for business parts, they can invest in skill training. Right. I'm happy that some companies are already doing that. Right. Skill training program that is tailored to market needs. And that is very crucial. And also, they can also provide mentorship and funding. And I'm seeing that a lot. I see a lot of companies that, they are providing funding. They're providing mentorship for youth, for startups, especially in the tech industry, right? Then another thing is that businesses can also collaborate with the educational institutions.
Amazing. Right? Okay.
Because what we must see that whatever comes out from these institutions matches with what the market needs. Right. So coming to the government. So one of the things I think government should do is to offer tax incentives to companies who are hiring youth, who are funding youth startups. Right. They can also offer tax incentive to them. And also they can create policies that will support innovation and entrepreneurship on the side of government. And
amazing. Wow. I like the fact that you mentioned collaboration. I think is the last SDG that actually even talks about partnership, right? Yes. And I think doing that will actually enhance, synergy in what we're doing, and there will be lots of development and improvements in even the SDG itself. All right. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
But remember, yes, remember, just remember, love's the bottom line at Christmas time.
Mr. Producer, let's not forget 10% of student cost for layout. That's okay. Yeah. Hello, my dear. We are not doing talking this Christmas. Go to market and find me an stage.
Don't go things in a fugazi. Whether on a house or a pool party. If we like to go party to 5 December, we are coming outside. Christmas is the best season to chop rice and to chop chicken. All of my guys get the dough with the tiger. All my girls.
People's 105.5 FM.
I see still the development report, and we're discussing decent work for economic development, social responsibility. We're looking deep into this. We have an expert in the studio who has been taking us down this route, and it's been a moment of enlightenment. And if you're listening and you work in an environment, how decent is your work environment, and what do you think should be done in a society like ours to cause improvement in the way we actually run businesses or set up jobs here in this part of the world, or depending on where you're listening from. All right, I wanted to give examples of what organizations can do, because I love to talk about people in vulnerable communities or marginalized groups, or including, you once mentioned people with, disability. Yeah. So what can businesses do to ensure that we're impacting, we're carrying out social responsibilities, and we're not leaving out people, with disability, we're not leaving out people, who are deprived or from, a marginalized sect?
Okay, so what I think is the first thing they need to do is to set a clear target, inclusion target. Inclusion targets, okay. Yes, and also to measure the progress. And I'm happy that some companies are doing that, right? Some companies are setting such targets. For instance, some companies are saying, okay, we have some certain percentage that we need to recruit disabled people, right? That we need to recruit. So that is the first thing I think they should also do. The second thing is also to design their workplace so that it can accommodate persons with disabilities. Because if your workplace is not suitable for people with disabilities, how would they be able to work? Right? How would they be able to access your environment? And also, another thing is to prioritize equal pay and leadership opportunities for everybody, including the women. Yeah, and that is very key. And the last thing I think is to collaborate with advocacy groups. They need to collaborate with advocacy groups so that they will be able to understand the barriers. And I think if they're able to do that...
Okay, so someone listening says... So, are small businesses, I believe these are SMEs, yeah, are small businesses mandated to also participate in the CSR? CSR. In the CSR, I think the person made, in the CSR, the person made a mistake.
Okay, so businesses, whether it's small or big, but one of the things I see is one of the challenges of decent work, as we are discussing this afternoon, is these small businesses. Sometimes we call them informal sectors. There's no regulation. And because there's no regulation, people tend to do anything they like. I know of someone who has been working for like 3 months, no salary, and you are mandated to go out
and continue working.
It's a small business. So yes, when we talk about, like, I think the person that asked the question should understand that CSR is not just to give, it's not charity only. It has to do with doing your business ethically. Ensuring
doing your business ethically is also part of CSR.
Yes, ensuring that you offer a fair wage for the people, ensuring that even their work environment is safe, right? Of which small businesses can also do that.
Amazing.
And also in terms of the environment, right? Small businesses should also ensure that what they are doing is not impacting on the environment negatively, right? For instance, if I run let's say a sachet water business, right? I have my generator. I have, because of light and all that.
Yeah.
I should ensure that my generator is not affecting the environment. At least, I should service.
I think Lagosians need to hear this.
Population, pollution is very
minimized, reduced.
So as a small business, yes, you have a role to play. In fact, there are lots of things you can also do.
Now, I there's a word you use that I really loved. Ethical. Ensure that you follow ethical standards, right? That's also part of SCR. I think that's also part of CSR. This is something that a lot of people need to know. Before you get to the point where you can start giving out, at least the ones that you can actually regulate and ensure that it's decent enough. That's really amazing.
Okay, let me shock you something. Like I said, a lot of people think because of the big companies doing something.
Yes.
I like what the concept of sustainability is doing, because your workers are not happy, their working conditions are not good, and you are giving millions. So that's why I love the sustainability reporting that will see what are you doing internally and externally.
Wow, that's the ESG report.
Yes,
amazing.
The framework, the sustainability report, which
encompasses
everything.
Wow. So it doesn't get to the point where the ones who are giving out is more than the condition of those people who are actually in the organization, right? Just to regulate, so it doesn't get too much outside and nothing is being done inside.
Yes, I will shock you with this example. Because of the wave of sustainability, so which also ensures that your workers are taken care of. Right? So there's this conversation I saw somewhere where some of the banks are being called out, right, because of the pay, the salary they pay, and also the contract staff who have been with them for years,
not taken care of.
Yes, and because everybody wants to look good, right? So, and I saw their responses. They are trying to say, "Oh, we are doing this.
We're doing our best,"
and they are also actually improving now. So, it's in and out, not just only out.
Amazing. All right. I wanted to, in a very few word, explain to us, tell us what needs to be strengthened or implemented to ensure, looking at the standard of what's going on in our countries. You actually mentioned some, and what policies or framework needs to actually be strengthened to implement decent work, to ensure decent work becomes a standard practice across industry, both for small businesses and the large ones.
Okay, so I would say one is for government to enact laws, right, and also enforce them, because we have
enact and enforce.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. So I would shock you that some time ago there was a bill about occupational health and safety. And that bill was never passed, right? And that I know in recent times a lot of associations have tried to push that law again. But let me give you an example. In Kenya, for instance, they have that law and they have a Directorate of Occupational Health and Safety. And what that law had done is to streamline activities, is to ensure that employees provide what they are supposed to provide. They also ensure that their responsibilities are being carried out.
Amazing.
Right. So I think government can revisit that. And also even the labor law that we have, it needs to be reinforced. I know that in every, you might not know this, in every local government, there is actually a Directorate of Occupational Health and Safety.
Wow. Which
people do not know. And you can only see them if there's an incident and it got to them. But they are supposed to go and ensure that companies comply with that.
Amazing.
And also, I would also say strengthen partnership between private
and public sector. Great. All right, we're going to keep the conversation going. You can follow me on X at Ife Inspires on X, and we'll keep the conversation going. Unfortunately, we have to call it a wrap here because of time. And like we always do at the end of this segment, we always take a moment to celebrate community champions who are actually turning trash into treasure. We see you and we appreciate the work you're doing for the planet. Thank you to my esteemed guests for joining me today to share your expertise on decent work for social responsibility. Thank you so much, engineer. Thank you. And also to my amazing producer in the studio here with me, Mr. Akpan. Thank you so much. And also to Mr. Charles Kalu. You can join us next week for another episode of the Development Report, where we'll talk about everything about a sustainable future. Now, here's a quote to think upon. Sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future generation. I am Ife Onyekachi. Do have a wonderful weekend as we meet to discuss development issues. Same time next week. Bye.